Please rewind this cassette.
The way I work when I'm directing a film is I have great, just like I have great cast, I have my great behind the scenes, behind the camera crew, cinematographer, production
I am Africa, with the strength of a cheetah, my native voice will ring.
Yeah, so let's talk about The Lion King. Uh there isn't much to say here. I mean, is Jon Favreau a hack? Can we say that now? Can we call Jon Favreau a hack? Like, I feel naughty saying it. It doesn't feel right. I mean, this guy's made some classics. He's made some modern classics. Elf and the first Iron Man have held up over the years. People still watch them on a regular basis. I mean, the dude kicked off the MCU. And I'm a fan of Favreau going way back. I mean, remember Dinner for Five? And he wrote Swingers, which he brought up on every episode of Dinner for Five, because that was a point that's what he was known for, being the fat guy in Rudy. I wish I was known for being the fat guy in Rudy. Although, isn't Sean Astin also sort of a fat guy in Rudy? So who's the fat guy in Rudy? I mean, you have the fat guy, but then you have the lesser fat guy who plays football. I need to rewatch Rudy. Maybe there's another fat person in there I missed. Yeah, fuck. The Lion King 2019, the live-action remake, even though it's an animated film. So it's the animated remake of an animated film that was in 2D animation. Now it's in 3D animation to look realistic, like live action. It basically looks like a nature documentary. I just caught this film as a double feature at a local theater where you only pay like $5 to see a movie that's been out for a long time. I think it was even less than that. I think it was $4.75 to go see the movie. And what everyone said about it is true. It's fucking bad. It's really bad. I mean, I know this is late. I'm coming late to the party here, but yeah, this is a terrible movie. It's got a lot of the same issues I had with Cowboys and Aliens and Iron Man 2, where it's just emotionally flat. The aesthetics are nice. Jon Favreau, like, has good camera work. He knows how to put together a scene. His cuts are good, but yeah, you're just watching it and you don't feel the emotions that the movie's trying to get you to feel. You're just sitting there watching it going like, I don't feel anything. The original Lion King that came out in the 90s, the animated film, which is a film I find to be very overrated in itself, and I'm not a big fan of Simba, as I've stated before, but The Lion King's fine. It's a good movie. I really don't hate it. I really like the musical that Julie Taymor did, and I wish this was closer to that than what the fuck this is, which was just a horrible design flaw. Here's the main issue with this film. It's a design flaw. The original Lion King was colorful. It had a lot of it was a visual story. It was meant to be animated. That sequence, I just can't wait to be king, the way that looks, that was originally how the whole movie was going to be done. But it's about the emotions on the faces. It's about these big bombastic musical numbers, all that stuff, not just the cinematic moments like the stampede and all that. It was about the impressionistic, I would say, to a point, visual of the movie. The aesthetics of Lion King are the Lion King. Otherwise, it's just a predictable second-rate version of Shakespeare that you've seen done many other times and in varying degrees. You've seen this story before. It's predictable. You don't really notice that there's plot holes and issues with the Lion King. The reason it overcomes a lot of that, like a lot of Disney animated films, is that the animation carries you through. You're being told things visually, and you're connecting with it visually. You're connecting with the characters and the musical numbers through the way they're being presented by the animators. And the animation in The Lion King is top tier. And that's one of the big reasons it was such a success. That and the soundtrack. But if you're going to do a musical, the musical has to have these vibrant musical numbers. So the big design flaw with this whole movie, and it's what everyone pointed out. And even though it's made $1.6 billion, even though the film cost $260 million to make and had to have a marketing budget of at least $150 million. So it didn't quite make as much profit in America, in the States, as I think they probably thought it was going to. It's like they thought this was going to make $800 million here. I'm not saying this is a bomb. Obviously, this movie made money, but this was an expensive movie to make this kind of money. And it didn't make Avengers Endgame money either. So don't throw that shit at me. Yeah, that's the fucking flaw, though, is that he takes this and is treating it as a serious drama with a visual presentation that is serious, more stoic, a lack of emotion from the characters and the interactions with the characters. Lions aren't very expressive. And I thought because this was 2 hours and that they were trying to make it a film maybe not directed for small children, because a lot of people going to see this movie saw The Lion King when it came out, I thought they would expand on the plot so we'd get more time with Mufasa, we'd get more character development. That transition of Simba becoming older and Nala coming back to get him to come home always felt really rushed in the Disney movie. So it's like, okay, we could spend more time on that. That would make it an even better story. But Favreau doesn't do that. He just remakes The Lion King with an extra 20 minutes of just landscape. It's the same movie. He just did the same fucking movie again. I mean, I hated Beauty and the Beast. I didn't even bother to go see Aladdin. Fresh Prince Alibaba, what have you. I didn't like Cinderella, even though some people like that movie. I haven't liked any of these Disney live-action remakes. The Jungle Book was decent. That was the best one. So I thought Jon Favreau at least would do something entertaining. I mean, The Jungle Book was an entertaining movie, and the creatures looked real, but it still worked. This one, no. I mean, this really just shows how lackluster the story to The Lion King is, that it's not the story itself, but the way it's told. And this really is a testament to that. I thought this would be like critically acclaimed and loved and all that, and then when everybody was giving it mixed to negative reviews, I was really surprised. But now seeing it, I totally get it. It's a clinical experience. There's a lack of emotional weight. There should be tension building. You should really feel for Simba's journey, his return. The performances aren't great. Only a couple of actors like James Earl Jones really give decent performances. The guy from Parks and Rec being Timon, and Pumbaa also by Seth Rogen, they're fine. They're the best part of the movie. Donald Glover does nothing. He's boring. I don't know why you don't have Donald Glover and Beyonce singing more. Why would you get two singers to pop stars? And I know Donald Glover raps, but he also sings and does pop music. Why would you not fucking have them sing together more? And where's the personality? Donald Glover has all this charisma from like Atlanta and his music videos and Community, and he doesn't do any of that here. What the fuck? Like, what were you thinking? Beyond that, Beyonce, Wasted. Chiwetel Ejiofor, or whatever the fuck his name is, Scar, Wasted, great actor, 12 Years a Lion, all that, flat performances, vocal performances, beautiful visuals, beautiful landscapes, shot composition, all that. It's like they spent so much time trying to make it look real and look good so they could sell it that, like, look, we pulled this off, to hide the fact that they just remade The Lion King and they're just cashing in on the movie a second time, which is literally what this is. This isn't its own movie. This isn't a Jon Favreau being an auteur. This is just the same movie making money again because the first film made $1 billion, so they knew this would make $1 billion. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I think Jon Favreau probably tried to make a film with more artistic merit. I think he was trying to make something unique and different. I think he had a vision in his head. But at some point, he should have been looking at that computer rendering these special effects and been like, no, this isn't right. This isn't the right way to go about this. Add personality, John. Add the levity that we need. Add the vibrance, the colorful nature of the story that it needs. Add that to the musical numbers. Add that to this to the set pieces, so at least it has an energy and it doesn't just feel like a dry story. This gave me the same feeling when I saw Where the Wild Things Are, where Spike Jonze is this brilliant visual film. You know, it's just like you look at it and you're like, gorgeous, but you feel nothing. There's just scenes with this kid fucking running around hanging out with these things, and there's no story. And you're like, yeah, it's nice to look at, but you know, you need to engage me from scene to scene. Things have to be happening, things have to move forward. This is a very just dry cinematic experience until about halfway in it picks up a bit, and then it sort of just peters out, and you feel that 2 hours. It feels like 2 hours and like 20 fucking minutes. Um Horrible. Just horrible. I mean, you could say that, like, yeah, but it's a competently made film. That doesn't matter at the end of the day. I know a lot of people worked hard on this movie, but if you don't tell the story well, and if I don't care about any of the characters, and I already know this fucking story, then I'm just watching the same movie over again when I could just go pop in my VHS of The Lion King and have a better time, and it would be over in like 80 minutes. So, I don't know. Hopefully Favreau bounces back with Mandalorian. That looks pretty badass. I would like to see him do more stuff like Chef. Have you seen Chef? And more stuff like Swingers, actually. Iron Man has more in common with Swingers. I would like to see him do more stuff like that than this bullshit. I don't know why he's become the guy, like, I'm Peter Jackson on crack. Why he has to make the fucking mocap CG animals looking real movies. Why is that Jon Favreau? Credit to Jon Favreau. He's a great story about how you could be like this guy that's not really an A-lister, and now he's like a top Hollywood director. I give him credit for that. You know, I'm not going to knock a guy being a success, but yeah, miscalculation. It's like the way the Beast looked in Beauty and the Beast, or just a miscap from his financial standpoint. No, but it was going to make money. It didn't matter. So that's not even an argument. You can't say to me like, oh, but it made a bunch of money. It was going to make a bunch of money no matter what the fuck happened. So that we're talking about the quality of the movie. Who gives a shit if it made money? Disney is going to make their money off these fucking movies. It's like, duh. Of course it made $1 billion. The question comes in though, like, if Jon Favreau can't make this work, like, if he can't bring it. I mean, Bill Condon was a good director. Guy made fucking Gods and Monsters. He couldn't do it with Beauty and the Beast. They bring in Guy Ritchie, Kenneth Branagh. If Jon Favreau can't do this, if he can't make this work, then I don't have hope for any of these movies. Also, this is just sort of pretentious in a sense that he gave The Lion King this self-importance that it didn't need, trying to make it more serious and less playful. And so by in doing that, he kind of just took away all the personality from it that made people like it. My first day of kindergarten, I wore a shirt of young Simba. I remember that. My first day in kindergarten, where I cried several times. I didn't want to use a public restroom with other kids. I was very nervous. And yeah, I can't remember. I was a horrible first day of school. That shirt did nothing good for me. So I've always thought about that. That didn't really help me at all. So, kids, if you're wearing your Simba gear, if you're wearing your Simba merch, it won't help you. You're still going to get hit by a car, because that's what life is, a series of cars hitting you on the street. I mean, I hate just to shit on this and jump on the bandwagon. I was hoping I would find things in this movie that weren't discussed, like some theme, undercurrent theme. I liked how Rafiki looked. I liked Rafiki. Yeah, just a generic film all across the board, except for having a visual splendor too. But a very generic movie. One of Jon Favreau's most generic films. Same thing with Cowboys and Aliens, except the first 30 minutes is sort of entertaining. He's not always the best storyteller. He has a way of establishing some things and having some building blocks, and then they sort of fall apart, and he goes into this generic territory with the second and third acts. You'll see this with quite a few of his films. The ones that don't succumb to that, I think, usually have something in the center of it that keeps it alive. Robert Downey Jr. in the first Iron Man, because I don't really like the third act of that movie. Elf, Will Ferrell's performance, and those scenes with him and Zooey Deschanel, it keeps the movie going. This movie doesn't have that. There's not one character or one actor. There's not a personality that's keeping the movie going. Which, you know, I just thought, why not have more of a dynamic between Scar and Mufasa? Why not have flashbacks with Scar and Mufasa if you're going to do a fucking movie like this? Yeah, why not have some new musical numbers that are fun don't. I mean, I know nobody wants to see a lion rapping, but you know, who cares? I mean, fuck it, it's the Lion King. It sucks. It sucks. It's one of the worst things because all of the criticism Disney gets for being a monopoly, for how cynical they release things, how they release the generic factory-made movies, and everyone tries to shit on Marvel and Star Wars and these live-action remakes. Lindsay Ellis does a video woke Disney about they're trying to be progressive, but they don't say anything. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, but I don't want to hate on them. I'm not a hater of capitalism. I want to respect what Disney's done, that they've won the battle of the movie studios, that Walt Disney's, his studio is defeating the other studios that have been around for decades. But when something like this comes out, it just gives complete merit to all those arguments that, this was one of the biggest movies of the year. All the big movies of the year for the most part have been Disney films. And when you see this, and it opens bigger than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because obviously it does. But when you see this and you watch it, it does make you bitter. It does feel like the cinematic experience is dying, and that Disney is just, they don't give a fuck, and they make interesting filmmakers less interesting when they work through that Disney pathway. They don't make as interesting of work as they should. I think what they should have done, honestly, just kept it closer to the animated film in a visual sense. Had more fun, made it a more fun movie, a funnier film, a faster paced film. Flesh out the things that needed to be fleshed out from the original film, because the runtime was short, because they don't like to make long films for children, even though Miyazaki films are 2 hours and Pixar films are 2 hours, but those Disney Renaissance films are always like 80 minutes long. I hope Little Mermaid's good, but I don't know what happened here. Just from the beginning, there's some movies that have scripting issues and shape and structural issues. This, from the beginning, the conceit of this, to have the idea be that it has to look completely realistic and we have to treat it with this more somber approach, that was such a big mistake. And because of that, you have a very flat movie that a lot of people worked really hard on, which makes it even worse. So, Lion King 2019, it sucks. Why does it suck? Because the filmmakers and the producers didn't have enough perspective to see what it should have been, because it was always going to be a success. They were too focused on trying to turn the Lion King into something it's not. They were treating it like it was this great, great story, this great tale, this great tragedy, this great adaptation of Shakespeare, this great experience, this true epic story, when it's not. The Lion King is not that, and it never was. People just think that because they watched it when they were kids. It's really not. It's just an entertaining adaptation of a story with really, really good aesthetics, and that's true for the musical and the animated film. This, on the other hand, is, by the halfway point, it's just, okay, the lion looks real. Now what?
Positional tracking data on the camera itself allows us to throw the background set extension images onto a video.
We are Africa. We are the heartbeats of Africa. With the rhino